Last week we installed new steering head bearings on the Yamaha FZ6R. Today we're going to align the front forks and steering yokes. If you've ever suffered from dog tracking, an offset feel to your handlebars, or weird front tire wear, chances are your forks were out of alignment. So get ready to watch me perform what roughly looks like CPR to this Yamaha as I align some forks. To start with, we're going to cover some basics in alignment. The first step in correcting the feeling of a twist in the handlebar when traveling in a straight line would obviously be to check the handlebars for bends, and that the bars are in the riser mounts correctly. If your bike has clip-on bars, this is even more important since you have a wide range of adjustments available. Aligning your bars is always the first step since you may be inadvertently applying countersteer and leaning your bike when riding if your bars are not set up properly. The next check is to the rear wheel. Every bike with a conventional swing arm and axle will have a way to adjust the final drive chain that requires you to equally tension the axle from both sides. Sounds easy. In fact, most tire wear issues stem from this one misstep in maintenance. Often you'll tension the left side of the axle if that's where your chain is first. You'll get the chain just right, and then move to the right side to adjust your axle to match the left side. And now you find your chain is over-tightened. Adjusting drive chain tension has to be done in steps, back and forth between axle sides, to bring it back in the swing arm equally. If your axle's not sitting at the same hash marks, your bike will be traveling offset, and your bike tire is driving the bike down the road at an angle. Not only will this cause all kinds of wear issues to your tire, chains, and sprockets, it will adversely affect your motorcycle's handling, especially when accelerating or braking. Confirm these two things are running true first, since no amount of fork alignment will correct a bent handlebar or an ill-adjusted rear axle. The first step in aligning the forks is to loosen the front of the bike. Start with the front axle, brake calipers, and lower steering yoke or triple tree bolts that hold the forks in place. The Yamaha here already has its front fender removed, but for your bike you'll need to loosen the fender on both sides, and if there's not enough slack in the front, I recommend removing yours as well since the front fender can throw your alignment off. The plastic or metal fender is the least precision machined item on the front of your bike. Again, I'm just loosening these bolts on the rest of the forks. If you can see a few threads out, you should be good. Make sure your front axle is still through and connected to both forks, since we don't want this dropping out when we start applying weight to the bike. Lower end of the bike loosened off, we now remove the top steering stem nut. Important to clarify here, I'm just removing the top hex nut and not the stem nuts that are holding the lower yoke to the frame. Do not loosen the top yoke fork clamps either. These need to stay tightened up to your forks. You may have noticed there are no tie-down straps on the front of the bike. The front wheel is still clamped in the wheel chock, but there are no other supports on the front of the bike. Likewise, the bike does not have any under supports like a scissor jack or center stand. If you don't have a front wheel chock, you'll need a friend to hold the bike vertical from the back while you perform this next move. With the lower bolts and axle loose, top steering yoke nut removed, and our front fender removed, I'm climbing on the bike and placing my hands on the center of the top yoke. Now, I just make a few quick downward pushes to the forks in a move that sort of looks like I'm performing CPR to the front of the bike. You can actually hear the forks click and move as the front end snaps into alignment. You should only have to perform this move 2 or 3 times to get the forks aligned in the steering yokes, but the most crucial movement is yet to come. Carefully get off your bike and do not put the bike on its side or center stand. If your buddy's out back holding the bike up, they're not finished yet. Carefully snug up the bolts we loosened in reverse order. Do not torque them, just snug them up. Start at the steering stem nut, then the lower yoke clamps, then the caliper bolts, and finally the front axle. If you left your front fender in place, leave it loose or off until the very end. Once this is done, you can start to torque all the bolts to spec, again in the same order, starting at the top and working your way down. Once everything is torqued, Then you can put your bike back on its stand and tighten or reinstall the front fender. Aligning forks is not difficult, but it's often overlooked, so if you've learned something today, be sure to smash that like button. Until next time, be sure to ride safe.